Hey, welcome to Blue Jay Banner, sponsored by Infusion Brewing Company and West Pacific Dental Group and BlueJayBanner.com. I'm Tim Kruger. I'll be joined shortly here by Austin Chapman. We're doing a little at-home show tonight, and we'll get you set for Providence game on Wednesday night. And as usual, a little technical difficulty, but we'll get you set for Providence and Creighton on Wednesday night at 7:30 on FS1. And after that game, of course, we will have our normal post-game show live at Let It Fly Sports Bar in downtown Omaha. Come on down, watch the game with Austin and I, and it gets a little crazy sometimes. So it's a lot of fun, and then stick around and watch the show afterwards. As I said, fantastic sponsors: Infusion Brewing Company, West Pacific Dental Group, and BlueJayBanner.com. If you're not a member of BlueJayBanner.com, please go today and sign up and subscribe. You'll be part of the very active Creighton message board, as well as all the inside recruiting and practice reports and inside information on the basketball team. And as we get into spring here soon, a lot of coverage of the baseball team as well. So check it out. That's bluejaybanner.com. If you are a member or want to be a member, you can go there right now and you can see our story we did yesterday on the women's game where Creighton took down Providence 79-66. Much tougher game than many anticipated. But, you got to remember, like Coach Flant said, Providence was picked third in the league, I believe, in the preseason. So a pretty good team. They just got off to a bad start. They're totally healthy now. They're playing their best basketball right now. So not totally shocking that the Jays, were down going in the fourth quarter. And they had a big fourth quarter and took over the game. Molly Mogensen had a terrific day. And the Jays are now 18-4, 10-1 in conference play, and they will play another home game on Wednesday night. So it starts at 6. So you can go down there, watch that game, and then see the men's game afterwards on TV. The Jays take on Seton Hall, and some people are wondering when the big rematch happens with UConn. That does not occur until Thursday, February 27th. So all the way at the end of the month. That'll be a 6 p.m. tip on a Thursday night, and it'll be on CBS Sportsnet, so everybody will be able to see it. I do want to mention Infusion Brewing Company. Go to their website, infusionbrewing.com, and check out all they have to offer. They have terrific craft beers, a lot of great seasonal beers, and now we're getting in the summer. You're going to get a lot of the lagers out. And don't forget about the Let It Fly. Let It Fly beer, you can find it at the Let It Fly Sports Bar in downtown Omaha and also on the West End. I want to talk about that in a second. And staple, and everybody has one before the game and after a victory celebration after the Big Jays win. So check out the Let It Fly beer, which is made by the Infusion Brewing Company. So check them out today. That's Infusion Brewing Company. I did frequent the West location on Saturday night. Loved it. Terrific staff out there. So if you're on the west end of town and you are used to going downtown to check out Let It Fly, make sure you check out the west end as well in Elkhorn. Great staff and a great setup. It's different than the downtown a little bit, but I like both of them. But I was really impressed with everything down on the west end. So make sure and check it out. That's in Let It Fly Sports Bar, downtown Omaha, and also out in Elkhorn. Kind of break down the show. We're kind of hanging on here for Austin once he joins us. We'll talk a little bit more about Saturday's game, the incredible bank shot by Ashworth. And then we kind of got a feature going. Myself, Austin, and Ross Ferrarini, who's not going to be on here tonight. Ross is under the weather. But we're going to kind of give you where we think the all Big East team sits right now. And we've got some differing opinions and so forth. So it'll be interesting to kind of discuss that once Austin gets on. Let's take a look at Providence. As you know, Bryce Hopkins, their tremendous player, is out for the entire season. He's been ruled out, so he will not be around anymore this season. Good news for all the Providence opponents, frankly, because he is a load and has been a load every time we have played them. The Friars right now are 5-6. There is a logjam, and before we talk about the Friars, I think I'll run through the just run through the standings right now. You've got St. John's at 10-1, Marquette at 9-2, Creighton at 9-2. So Jay's one game out of first place, tied for second place with Marquette. Then UConn's 8-3. Then there's a big drop off, and we have four teams at 5-6. Why is that important? Because the one team that comes out of this pack will get a bye in the Big East tournament. The other teams will have to play on Wednesday. So we've got Georgetown, Xavier, Villanova, and Providence all tied at 5-6. Frankly, that's a hell of a job by Kim English at Providence without Hopkins to be at 5-6 right now in the league. If I had to pick a favorite in there, I would definitely think it's Xavier. Xavier's done, as you remember, they're done with the top four teams. They only have one game left with the top four, and that's with Creighton a little later on. So they're going to be playing all the teams from number 5 down the rest of the way. So that's a big advantage for the Musketeers. Then that follows up with Butler is 2-9. They played one less game than DePaul, who's 2-10, who broke out of the last place tie with Seton Hall last night as they defeated Seton Hall pretty handily, and Seton Hall at the bottom, 1-10. We were just talking about Providence. They're 5-6. They play the Jays Wednesday. Then they do play. They have a little break now. Their schedule gets a little easier. They play Butler, Xavier, Villanova, Georgetown. So there you go. They're playing all the teams after they're done with Creighton and Butler. They play the other 3 teams they're tied with at 5-6. So they have a chance to move up the standings, or if they go on 3, they're going to drop way down. Then it toughens back up for them again, where they have Marquette and UConn back to back. Then they play DePaul and Xavier to finish out the season. As I mentioned, they're 5-6 in conference. They have no NCAA chance whatsoever. But a guy that we recruited was Oswin Irozini. He's averaging almost 18 minutes a game. He's averaging 6 points a game and 5.5 rebounds a game. He looks like a tremendous player down the road, and it's a guy, as we mentioned before, that Creighton recruited heavily, and came down to Providence and Creighton for him, and he chose to remain in Providence. He's from the Providence area, so he's almost averaging 2 blocks a game. I mean, so he's going to be a load for us. He's a load for Kalkbrenner. He's more of a traditional 5, so Kalk's not going to have to go out on the perimeter. He'll have to go out there on high ball screens, but he's not going to stand out there and jack up a lot of threes. So in that sense, he's more of a traditional player, which I think suits Kalk well. But he's the first guy I think of when I think of Providence this year, like I said. But their leading scorer, Bryce Hopkins, he only played 3 games this year, but Bensley Joseph is averaging 12 points a game, and Jaden Pierre is probably their most accomplished player. I think he's a guy that's going to give us some issues, especially at Providence, and he's averaging almost 13 points a game. So certainly a game the Jays should win. Let's hope we got our bad shooting night out of the way. We're 6 for 26 from 3. So let's hope that's behind us, and then hopefully we can do a better job not turning the ball over. That's still the thing that's driving me crazy. We were lucky to get away with the turnovers and still win at Villanova. We are not going to be so lucky here starting Saturday when we play Marquette, and then Tuesday when we play UConn, and then the following Saturday when we play St. John's. St. John's a very in-your-face pressure team. UConn is as well, and so is Marquette. 3 teams, maybe a little bit different with the pressure. Marquette goes for deflections a lot of long defenders. UConn kind of gets up in your grill, and then St. John's likes to throw some pressure at you. The difference with St. John's versus the other 2 teams is that St. John's isn't as efficient on the offensive end. Marquette's the most efficient, and then Creighton and UConn are next. So I just saw a tweet from Made from March, who's a new member of the Banner Brackets mock selection committee this year, and he just said it's St. John's week. They have had the schedule totally going their way. Okay, they have not, other than Creighton, they haven't played any of the top teams, and so now their schedule totally flips around. Tomorrow night, huge game, FS1. It's on at 5:30, so get home early. St. John's Marquette. Marquette wins that game. We take care of Providence. There'll be a three-way tie for first place amongst the three teams. Then St. John's goes at UConn on Big Fox on the Fox Big Friday night game. So a tough turnaround there. Then they go at Villanova. Not an easy place to play, as we all know. Then they come to Creighton. I'm sorry, they're home to Creighton. Apologize. Home to Creighton. So they go home to Marquette, at UConn, at Nova, home to Creighton. They get a one-game respite where they play DePaul, and then they have UConn at home. So schedule really flips around for St. John. So we're going to see what they're made of here in the next week or so. Same can be said of Marquette. Marquette started that grind Saturday where they lost at home to UConn. To me, it wasn't a shocker. Marquette hadn't played really the teeth of the Big East schedule. I mean, they went through a stretch where they played Georgetown, DePaul, Xavier, Seton Hall, Villanova, Butler. So now the schedule flips around. As we mentioned, they have Seton Hall, then they go to Creighton Saturday, and then they get a little break. They play Seton Hall and DePaul back to back, and then they don't get the tough teams again till the end of the season where they play at UConn and then St. John's at home. So there's a lot to be decided the last week of the season here in the Big East season. So that'll be very interesting. Same holds true for UConn. They had a letter in the schedule, but now it gets tough for them as well. As we mentioned, they played Marquette Saturday. They'll play St. John's next Friday. They get a whole week off before St. John's. So, and then they'll come here on Tuesday to take on the Blue Jays. And then after a little break with Seton Hall, they'll have Villanova at St. John's, and then Georgetown at Providence, and then Marquette. So a lot to play for, a lot to decide in the Big East. I really think this is one of Mac's best coaching jobs ever, to have us in position. If you'd have told the beginning of the year, hey, you're going to lose Pop Isaacs, you're not going to have him. For us to be where we are, especially when we started off the way we did. We were 2-2. We got blown out by Georgetown. I think those next three games, though, that loss, that fourth game of the year, that loss at Marquette, I think did nothing but give us confidence. Because then we were like, okay, we can play with the best teams in the league. I mean, because we were toe to toe with Marquette that entire game, and I think that's was a big boost to the season. And of course, now, we've rattled off 7 in a row. We haven't lost in over a month, so congratulations to the Jays on a terrific run here and to get themselves in position to make a run in March. As I said, we're waiting for Austin to join us, and we'll jump into our All Big East teams. I have my Oregon Cup here. Dana and the Ducks are in big trouble. They've lost 3 in a row, and they don't look like a team that was just a couple weeks ago on the 3 line in most brackets. But they have a couple tough games coming up. Then the schedule gets easier for them, but they've got to get some things figured out in a hurry. Okay, I'm going to do, speaking of bracketology, I'm going to do something here that we normally don't do and we normally don't look at. And I'm going to see if we can pop up the if we can get the see if we can get the Jays Jays resume on the board and take a look at that and see where the Jays stand right now. Okay. So the Jays right now are at 16-6. This is Warren Nolan. I apologize. Warren Nolan this year's got ads on the side of the screen. It's kind of difficult to see. But before we get into that, let me get out Austin aboard here. 1 second. Give him a second to load up, and we'll get Austin joining us in a second.
Hold on there. I was
Hey,
changing the
Austin, how you doing,
background.
man? How are you, brother? Can you hear me okay?
How's it going?
Good. Hear me okay?
Yeah, yeah, you can hear me? Hear me
Yeah, we're,
fine?
we're good. We've been running here for a little bit. I've just kind of broke down the women's game yesterday and talked about a couple of other things that I thought we'd just jump into before we get into like our Big East um, first team all conference. Just kind of take a look at the Jays resume. We haven't done that in a long time, probably all the season. So that's what I've got popped up on the screen now for all the fans to take a look at. As I said, this is Warren Nolan's side. This year he's got ads popping up on the side. I apologize. There's no way to get them off. I've asked Warren if there is, and he said no. So, just bear with us. So Creighton says 16-6. A couple things to look at is up here the net strength of schedule 34. That's really good out of 360 teams. So Jays have a really strong strength of schedule. And then right under the Creighton name here, you'll see results based metrics and predictive. That's basically KPI, SOR, wins above the bubble. The results is basically how you do with the schedule you have. And the Jays come in 32nd, 21st, and 29th. Over at Brackettville, you go to brackettville.com. That's where my bracketology is, along with Dave Ullman's. We have a new metric, a result based metric called the BV rankings. This week, Creighton came in 26, so right in line with where they are with the other result based metrics. Predictive metrics had kind of been Creighton's downfall until they've gone on this 7 game run and got a couple blowouts, which always help those predictive metrics, and plus beating teams above you, which they've done, obviously. So right now, they're coming into line as well. They're 36th in the net, as you can see, and then that basically they're 4-4 in quadrant one. You kind of look there. Okay, how have they done against the bigger teams they've played, and they've done pretty well. I mean, that's a pretty hefty schedule there in quad one. Beating UConn on the road is a big one. They also beat Villanova on the road, just obviously Saturday, and then getting 2 home wins against St. John's and Kansas. Villanova not in the field, but St. John's, UConn, Kansas all are, and the other 4 teams they lost to in the quad one are all in the projected field right now, as is Nebraska. So they haven't stubbed their toe against. They haven't had any bad losses. They've had some good wins. They have obviously some opportunities for some great wins coming up here with UConn and Marquette. But this has got them sitting somewhere, anywhere, depending on which bracketology you look at, anywhere the 7-8 line. Again, chance to move up. The problem right now is they're in this clump of teams that are in 6 seed, 7 seed, 8 seed. All their resumes are pretty alike. It's hard to distinguish amongst those teams. And you've kind of got to get some big wins to kind of pull out of that group. So obviously we've got some chances coming up here, but hopefully the Jays will get that done. But we thought we'd just take a quick look at that.
So
Austin,
you
we
got
were talking.
Nebraska in.
Huh? What's that?
You got Nebraska in.
I moved him in today. My bracket will come out tomorrow. I've got him like the last or next to last team in right now. I mean,
Okay.
they've gone,
All right.
talk about a roller coaster ride, man. They were high,
Oh
running
yeah.
high, and then 6 losses had them way out. And boom, you beat Illinois and Oregon, 2 teams in the Big Ten that were highly thought of. All of a sudden, boy, you're going to shoot up the rankings. So, which they
I
have.
got you.
Um, I was just talking a little bit about Providence. How much? I don't know how much you've seen of Providence, but what do you think of the Friars?
Of course, riddled by a little health and
Yeah,
injuries, I think. I don't know. Is Hopkins in the lineup?
Hopkins is
He's in the
done for the
lineups.
season.
Right. So
They have announced he's out for
um
the rest of the year.
was that how long ago was that?
They
Not
just did that like within the last week. They just announced he's done.
okay. All right. So yeah, I feel like they haven't really, tapped their full potential, of course, where they thought they were going. Neither have we either, right? Assuming Pop was going to be involved, but um, English has been able to kind of figure out some things over there and pick up, some good momentum. I think they just kind of got some tough losses also too. They hold guys down to the wire and kind of just finish it off at the end.
Yeah,
So,
but I
uh,
was talking about that before you came on. That man, you look, they're in a four-way tie at that 5 and 6 mark for that number five
yep.
seed, which would get you a bye in Big Sherman. This is one hell of a coaching job by him to not have Hopkins and to be
Absolutely.
where they are.
Yeah, he's got some other players. Sorry, the little fellows in the background. But yeah, of course. Um, he's got players over there. Joseph, I think, is a good guy. He's got coming off the bench as well. That kind of gets that
Pierre's
second
playing real
unit
well.
going.
Yeah,
Um,
and then we
and
talked about
oh
Osborne,
wait,
the big guy.
yeah, absolutely. Big fella is very talented and somebody we definitely had eyes on. So they're dangerous, definitely. I don't think that's somebody you want to see, per se in their early matchup, but they're just kind of trying to figure out how they are as a unit. I think too, is where they are, and they have had some tough losses, which hurt.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna let's just talk a little bit about West Pacific Dental Group. Dr. Robert Hogan and his staff have been longtime sponsors of Blue Jay Banner. We appreciate their support so much. It's whether you have a dental emergency or just need to check up. West Pacific Dental Group is the place to go. So they will give you compassionate care and consult you in every move. So call them today, 402-697-0765. That's 402-697-0765. They're my dentist, and you will be so happy with the care they give you. That's West Pacific Dental Group. Okay, I'm going to pop up. I'm going to pop up.
Any major issues in the dental front there? No root canals or
None with
anything
me.
of the
I need to go in
nice.
for cleaning here shortly. So
Okay. I love it.
I am the cavity king. So um, I'm going to
Good.
pop up what Ross sent me earlier today. Um,
He's got his six, right?
yep, he's got a 6. In all fairness, Ross Ross kind of forgot Eric Dixon when he sent me his first list. So I was like, "You don't have Dixon in there?"
Fair.
And he's like, "Oh wait, I screwed up." So Ross is right at the top there. That's his 6. Cam Jones, Marquette. I think probably if it wasn't, I don't know about Eric Dixon. Like I don't know how you feel. Like they're a 500 team, below 500. I mean, to me, he should get Player of the Year, but they tend not to
Right.
go anybody that's below 500. So
And
that's going to be a tough
that's kind
call.
of just the stigma behind it, whether
Yeah,
it's at the NBA level or wherever it is, right? You got to kind of be winning as a team and as a unit as well to be the overall most valuable player, I guess. But I think, he's one of the most intricate pieces. Granted, we could say the same thing with Koff. We could make some of
sure.
those same arguments, but yeah, Eric Dixman just deserves to be clear and ahead above.
Yeah, and
I
I
think
would
he
say
should.
if we had a couple more guys in the league that were just blowing up and were on St. John's or Marquette or UConn, I would say then no chance. But I think
Right.
he's got a real chance to win it just because he's been so incredible and led the nation in scoring. And nobody else is just, look, a lot of good players, don't get me wrong, but Cam Jones had a shooting slump a while back where he wasn't playing as well and, so
Right.
forth. So I would have said,
I feel like a lot of games that I watched Marquette, he hadn't performed at the highest level that
yeah,
generally
I
I've
thought earlier in
heard,
the
right? And
year,
I always feel disappointed.
I thought earlier in the year was hands down he was going to win it. But anyway,
Right.
Ross has Cam Jones, RJ Luis of St. John's. I guess that's the typical, hey, they're in first place, got to put somebody on the team, right? You could go with Richmond, I guess, would be the other guy,
That
but
that's a guy in my six. So I don't know if you want to just write this out too, so you got it there. But yeah, I got Kadari in there. I got Solo Ball in there.
well,
Faulkner, of
Ross
course.
had solo ball in, but then he took him out to get Dixon in. So
That's fair. And yeah, understood.
okay, so let's
Um,
go down Ross's first, then I'll get
yeah,
to you. So we got Dixon, we got Thomas Sorbor, which is kind of a off the radar pick for me. having a good year, no question about it. Um, but yeah, the other one,
Oh,
look,
fair.
I love Ashworth, but I just don't think he is in the level of first team all conference. The
Yeah,
turnovers are bothering me
he's
a little
playing
bit.
at a great pace, and I mean, this last game, you could technically say, of course, he had the game-winning play and a lot of resolves, but um, first team might be tough.
Yeah.
First team might be tough.
And then Ryan, I think Ryan will be first team. I don't think there's any doubt there. All right. So who do you got? List off your six.
All right, here we go. I got Kadari. Um,
Okay. So you got
just because I
Kadari
think I
Richmond,
got Kadari
formerly at Seton
Richmond.
Hall, now at St. John's.
Yeah, I
He's
feel
come
like
on in the
he.
last few games, has played really well.
Yeah, and I feel like preseason he was kind of more or less the guy that was kind of getting them going, and also just like somewhat of that glue guy. He doesn't do like the natural glue things, but I think he's somewhat of like get that team going in a lot of ways. Cam Jones, of course, I just think he's gonna turn it on here late. Kalkbrenner. Absolutely. Especially his last 7, 8 games, right? I think it's just been instrumental to what we've been able to do. Um, where I'm at.
You
One,
got three. You got Cam
4, 3.
Jones,
So then
Richmond,
so
and
yeah, so then I'm
Kalkbrenner.
going solo ball.
Okay.
Solo ball for sure.
Out
And
of
then
UConn.
yep. And I honestly think Caravan just kind of gets more or less
Yeah.
the
He's
hands
actually leading
down.
them. I
Just
was surprised. He's actually leading them in scoring, which,
yeah, and he's just the leader, right? And I think that's clear. Like there's some games he doesn't get the shots he probably should, but they just kind of had some other guys going and they've taken, some losses that maybe they shouldn't when they are trying to play through other guys. But when they actually, make him a piece of the team, I just think, they're playing at a very high level and he kind of gets guys going. And that's kind of some more of that too to me for the first team, right? It's not also just like, oh, this guy's providing just points. It's like, what are you doing on the leadership front? Because that's generally
all
too the success behind it. Eric Dixon, of course,
right.
just from
So you
what
got,
he's doing.
let's go through this again. You got Cam Jones, Kadari Richmond, Eric Dixon, Ryan Kalkbrenner,
And then those
Caravan,
last two, and that's where I'm at.
Caravan and
That's
Ball
kind
are the
of
last two from UConn. That'd be
right, but
six.
that's kind of where I'm at. I got a qualm because I think Caravan. You can either go you can make an argument for Caravan or Ashworth if we're talking today.
Okay.
That's yeah. I feel like that like sixth spot was kind of Caravan or Ash. Um, yeah,
Yeah, and I
I
think
like the way he's running the ship.
yeah, and typically like when they announce the team like the week before the tourney starts, the few days before the tourney starts, they kind of see who wins. It seems like the team who wins the regular season kind of gets a bump of maybe getting that extra guy in there.
Right.
However, this conference has suddenly turned into UConn's conference. That I wouldn't surprise me if UConn gets a couple in. But
But
I
that's
want to
just
talk.
what we're used to seeing. It's been
Yeah,
2 years, right? And they're going for that three-peat. So that's kind of why too I was saying that on that political play of like, yeah, generally if they do win the conference, they get two, right? But I also think we were just kind of playing at eye level. And if we finish it out, I think it would be a pretty good shoe in for Ash, honestly.
yeah. So Cam Jones pretty much standard. I think everybody's got Dixon, everybody's got Kalkbrenner, RJ Luis, or Richmond. One of those two from St. John's. I don't have a qualm either way. Here's where I kind of went away from you guys a little bit. I took a look. Liam McNeely has been injured, okay, but
Okay.
he's still like at the top of their scoring list, okay. And I started looking a little bit at their games since he went out, and that's when Ball has taken off.
Yeah.
When they were
Well,
both in the lineup, McNeely was the dude. So and I don't know that he would get first team because of the extent of games that he missed. So I could say, hey Tim, he can't get okay. I'm with you. Then I would probably go Ball there. But when he was in the lineup, he made a difference. And when he went out of the lineup, that's when UConn started losing some games. So
that's
that's why
fair.
I think he's really super valuable.
No, that's understood. Understood.
Jamil,
Uh,
I went Jamil
yeah,
Telford
that's fair.
Butler. I just think I've watched a ton of Butler this year, and man, he just brings it every night. And there's a lot of times he's had to try to carry that team, and there's another team that's lost a lot of close games, been in a lot of games, been in a lot of games with the higher tier of the league, and he does it. He does it from all over, from outside, inside. I
Yep.
just really like his game. And look, you could, yeah, Sorber's a nice pick. Obviously Richmond's a good pick. So there's other guys, and I actually looked at a couple guys on Marquette's team. They kind of
Oh yeah.
what I think happens on Marquette though after Cam Jones, those guys all cancel each other out because
Right.
they're all kind of the same guy. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yep. What is his last name?
Well, you got Ross, you got who's 23. He's a heck of a shooter, but he's kind of been in a little shooting slump here lately too. So I don't know. It's hard. Um, you
Mitchell.
know,
That yeah, Mitchell actually is what I was thinking. I feel like he's more or
yeah,
less
Stevie
that
Mitchell's
glue that.
probably
Yeah.
probably 1A as far as defensive player of the year.
Right.
I was thinking of a David Joplin. He's a
Okay.
guy who can really fill it up too,
Yeah.
and he's kind of a Cam Jones. He kind of reminds me of Cam Jones a lot. So I think Mitchell of that group of guys there, I think he would probably be the guy you would next take from Marquette. Say they would win the league. I think
Hmm.
Steve Mitchell's going to get first team or second team. Pretty solid.
That's
I
fair.
think
Yeah,
Marquette
no,
has
that's fair.
three choices. I think Creighton has two choices.
Creighton
Uh,
could have three though, and this is one that was going to be disruptive, but um, I
Neil,
thought about it. Yeah, absolutely, and I just think it depends on how he of course, finishes out the rest of the
yeah,
conference, but that's just going to come down to consistency. I think on his end, I think everybody knows what his ceiling is, right? That it's like we need to see you perform at this basic level every time you strap him up, but sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not, right? That I think. If we see something consistent, he
yeah. I
could,
mean,
that's one that could make a argument definitely to maybe get three in. But
he's got
that's say
he's
we
got
run the table
second
here.
or honorable mention stats, no doubt about it. He's
Yeah,
averaging
yeah, yeah,
12 a
yeah.
game, 12 a
Absolutely.
game, 6 boards a game. Um, he's got 4 assists a game. So he's a guy who's right there.
He is, but then you got to think of too. I'm just thinking totality because a lot of times, yes, Ash might start on the guard, but then generally Jemiah is going to be who's kind of finishing on some of these higher level guys that are kind of doing things on the offensive end. So if he's able to kind of put it together on both sides and still give you, this aspect of what he's doing on offensive production, it's somewhat of a like the Mitchell case, right? Because there generally is somewhat of that stopper too in
Yeah.
there, and like to say we have two of them, right? In a way would be kind of something that's just, a different play on what we do.
All right. Yeah. So that's an interesting exercise. Thanks for you guys. Thanks for doing that. That was a lot of fun. Um, One last thing I'm going to leave before we leave Creighton here for a second and just wrap up the show. But you know how we've been talking about Ashworth and the turnovers and everybody comes back to, well, that's where we really missed Pop. Da, da, da. And I was like, okay, I haven't looked at the actual numbers, but just my memory was like, yeah, it seemed Pop was turning it over too. And I'm just looking at the stats now. Ashworth, yeah, sorry, the stats disappeared here. 1 second. Ashworth has 3.8 um, turnovers per game. Okay.
Right?
Pop was at 2.9. So not really that far behind, less than this. I mean, so it wasn't like Pop was not turning it over either. You know what I mean?
I think at that time too, we were all just turning like the team was turning it over at a very high clip at that point,
Yeah.
right? And so I just think that just murkied the water. And generally, since the Ash is the one with the ball majority of the time, a lot of that just got pinned on him. But yeah, he does have to do a better job taking care of the ball. I think he knows that too. That's kind of been you've seen some of those passes. They're not coming as early. They're coming a little later in the pick and roll, but. It's just be expected, like we don't have too many individuals to handle the ball or to play make right now, and we're somewhat thin on that front. So if he's gonna have the ball in his hand majority of the time, turnovers are, it's to be expected, really, in a
And
lot of
frankly,
regards.
I think Steven had the big number, the 7, the 8 turnovers a game. He had those
Yeah,
after Pop went out, so that inflated his numbers.
that's I
Where when
drive.
Pop was there, his turnovers were probably down to 1 or 2 a game. So yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Just like
so
scoring
anyway,
50 points on the first night,
yeah, absolutely. So there we go. So we already talked about the women being home Wednesday night at 6 o'clock in Seton Hall. The men are on the road at Providence, 7:30 tip. Games on FS1, and you can join us down at Let Fly, and we'll be watching the game. And yeah, let's get another win. Let's make this 8 in a row and make everything matter on Saturday against Marquette. It'll
Yeah,
just be
good.
electric.
Be
So
some great
join Austin
momentum.
and I. Yeah, join us and I right after the game. All right. Thanks, buddy. Thanks for joining us. Thanks,
Yes,
everybody.
sir.
We will see you on Wednesday.